Men of Reddit, what are something a mom should know while raising a boy? Don't tease your sons about any female friends. It usually leads to issues with them being unable to talk to you about things when they actually do like someone. This is one of the most important pieces of advice out there. My mom thinks every female friend I've ever had is a crush, when that's simply not the case. As such, I can't talk to her about female friends anymore. Keep your promises, especially the small ones that are easy to let slip. And when you break or slip up on one, directly acknowledge it with them and apologize while trying to make amends. Especially, really, if they don't remember. Raising a child that keeps their word is 100% modeling, not lecture. You have to show them how to build those skills by demonstrating them daily, while reinforcing that with direct explanation of what you're doing or thinking in relevant contexts. Simply put, don't hold them or yourself to a standard of perfection or pure honesty. Expect accountability and integrity, even in failure or mistakes. It's just as important how we handle when we fail through our own mistakes as trying to avoid making them. Encourage them to be adventurous, to take smart risks, and how to negotiate. Was raised by a very overprotective mother. I learned none of these things till middle age.
I'm a 34-year-old female and was also raised this way. So unprepared for real life.
Teach him to cook. My post-college roommate had his mom cook all of his meals. It was embarrassing to watch him try to operate a kitchen when he decided he wanted to make something of his own. But only if you yourself do, in fact, know how to cook. Don't use your kid as a shield when mommy and daddy are arguing. This fucked up my little brother. It grew on me, and I just got numb to it, but as soon as he starts crying and blaming himself, I know it's time to tell them to stop their shit.
I'm a girl and my parents used me as the shield sometimes, either in the argument itself or physically. Now I have issues keeping face when people yell at me or when my so gets frustrated and starts to argue with me. I just shut down.
It's good to be involved, but don't be overbearing. The most stressed out and repressed guys I knew growing up were always the ones whose mothers controlled every aspect of their lives. Also, have trust and tell him you love him. My mom always knew best. Even as an adult I usually gave in, because she never wanted to hear otherwise, and I didn't want to fight. I continued this tendency into my first serious relationship, where my girlfriend was quite dominant. I'm in therapy. Actually knock and wait. They might not be masturbating, but they still like their privacy. Otherwise they lock their door, so you can't get in. They close themselves into a mental cage because you thought it was a great idea to just barge into little Timmy's room, when he specifically stated that he doesn't like it when you do that. Make sure he knows girls are also people just like him, so he doesn't be all awkward around them thinking they are some higher being. Figured that out myself after elementary school and now I can talk to anyone with ease. Also don't teach them that they have to have a boyfriend or girlfriend or be interested in someone. Every time I mention one of my male friends or hang out with them, my mom and sisters all do the "do you like him? Are you dating?" thing. It's the worst. You don't have to have a crush, and even if you do, it's not anyone else's business whether you do or don't, and you get to choose who knows. If you are arguing, and he retreats to his own room or outside, don't follow along continuing the argument. Young people have a hard time expressing themselves, and may need time to process their thoughts. Men are too often given the impression that they are only allowed specific responses, and unfortunately one of them is anger. As a teenager I couldn't get away from my parents when we argued, and I ended up feeling trapped. I've suffered a panic attack when my mom flew off the handles the last time. Was kicked out in my underwear in -10 degrees. Got to go back in half an hour later completely frozen, and just curled up in a corner and cried. She came up to me, took photos of me, and then ridiculed me for not being a man, and blamed me for destroying her life. Soon. 1 year. Then I'll be gone. Forever. You are raising him to be a man someday. He's not your little boy forever.
How do I, as a mother to an 8-year-old boy, relay that to him? He keeps saying how he never wants to grow up and leave me. He is super clingy with hugs to the point of hurting me. When out in public he constantly wants to hang off my arm or put his head in my lap, etc. On the one hand, he is so sweet that I want to soak it all in, but on the other hand, I don't want to raise him to be a super clingy so to someone in the future. I have tried to tell him that people don't always like the smother hugs, but he isn't quite getting it.
When your teenage son suddenly wants to do his own laundry, let him. You do not need to be touching what he is trying to wash away. Also, you don't have to do his laundry. Win-win situation, right? Seriously, by the time your kid is finishing elementary school they are mature enough for you to teach them to do their own laundry, stack the dishwasher and cook basic meals under supervision. It will make your life easier, and you will make them a better adult for it. You would not believe how many guys and girls get to college and can't boil an egg and take their laundry home to their moms. It's not just bad for them physically, it's bad for their development psychologically. Point M. Have a healthy relationship with your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. Having a welcoming, stable, warm home is the very basis of being a positive influence on your children. Don't just focus on teaching him the good stuff, focus as well on being a role model for him. This is probably the best piece of advice on here. Kids, follow examples, not advice. Do as I say, not as I do. Doesn't work on children. If you tease him about personal relationships at a young age, he'll never trust you enough to talk about deep personal matters. Another is, don't share stuff your kid told you in private with your friends. Especially not during dinner, when the kid can potentially hear it. It's a breach of trust that never recovers. If you knock on his door and he says give me a minute, give him a minute. Don't just walk in. My dad always knocks and he immediately opens the door. If it's early in the morning, he'll just walk in assuming I'm still asleep. I told him it's his house and he can do what he wants, but one day he'll walk in on me, dick in hand, and that's his problem, not mine. He's respecting your privacy by knocking and asserting his dominance by going in anyway. Let him get dirty, let him fail, let him make mistakes. Know that he'll make mistakes, and make him embrace the consequences of those mistakes. You can either make sure your son is always safe, or make him strong. It is best for him to be strong. It is also important to note, would you rather your son be liked by you, or by other people? Sometimes, the two are not compatible. Knowing the difference is intellectually and emotionally hard, but important for you to do. I've not seen this one, probably because it's maybe a bit sketchy, but if the kid's got a foreskin, make sure you teach him young that he needs to clean underneath that fucking thing. Don't wait till he's 16 and getting his first blowjob and suddenly his girlfriend is vomiting all over his crotch. This might have seemed obvious to some dudes when they were kids, but truthfully it took me too long to realize, and I've seen posts on Reddit of guys not realizing the importance of this until their freaking 30s. I'll admit, telling a 12 to 13 year old it could be a tricky thing to breach, but if he's younger make sure you get this through to him for God's sake. Edit. Lots of people pointing out that you shouldn't do this too early in life, or it could cause damage. Thought it'd be worth adding the edit in case people don't read the replies underneath. Most men are task orientated and this isn't really different while we are growing up. Don't drop hints. Don't get angry at your son not taking hints. Give him an actual instruction. Once you've finished what you're doing, can you take the bins out for me? Will get a much better response than take the bins out now, and a much better response than no one ever helps out around the house. The bins are getting full. Guess I'll do it myself. Even if you're frustrated or feel that way, give tasks, not hints, and in doing so make sure they're aware that their current task, interest isn't any less important than your frustration. Of course, this is different if it's the second, third, fourth time you've asked, but never lead with the hint or the do it now. Also, we tend to queue up tasks in our heads. If you ask us to do something, then something else, and something else, we will mentally plan what we are going to do, and give it an order of importance, and get to the jobs in that order. If you ask us to take out the bins, change the bulb in the kitchen and push the hoover around, don't nag us about the other two tasks while we are doing one of them. We are likely just doing it in the order that makes sense in our heads, even if it doesn't make sense in yours. Ladies, this applies to most of your husbands as well. If you want something to be done, ask for it to be done. Don't hint, don't command, ask, and 9 times out of 10 it will get done, providing they were raised even slightly right. Check out our newest videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.